What is up, y'all? Welcome back. Today we are going to be playing with so much new makeup. I am continually in awe and overwhelmed with gratitude when I just keep receiving new releases in the mail from brands. It just makes me so happy. I never really lose my excitement about touching new things. All that to say, I don't know, I bought at least 2 of these things, but it is gonna be so many new things, so many new things. But the first one is just new to me. I mean, not new to me, it's new again to me. The Ilia Super Serum Skin Tint SPF 40. I had swatched this when we were talking about the Sephora Savings event, and I realized that the bottle that I had was super expired, and so I just re-bought it, and I am the shade Tulum, so we're gonna be using that today. Concealer and stuff like that is also going to be familiar things, but I have the new RMS Bronzers. I have the new Natasha Denona highlighter. I have some really weird colors of blushes that I bought at Ulta. I was there with my friend last week and I was like, wait a second, the longer I look at those, the weirder they are, because as you use them, I thought that maybe the ones on display had sat in the sun for a while, but they have this funky shift on them, but it's only when you disturb the surface. They really confuse my color theory brain. And then this one is so bright orange, but also creamsicle. You know what I mean? It's a saturated pale orange. I don't know if this one's gonna make it onto my face today because I have been receiving some requests lately from y'all to have me actually use pink instead of coral for once in my life. So I think this might be the video for that. I also got some new stuff from Weis. I got their new mascara as well as an eye pencil, but I think that the eye pencil might be in oh, it's in brown. Oh, it's in brown. So we'll be using those today because I just can't use a black eyeliner. It just doesn't look right on me. And then I'm burying the lead here. I said that we were gonna wait until this is released. Hopefully, I don't know, at least we know when it's gonna be released. I don't know yet, but this is the Sigma Cool Neutrals palette, and this is why I wanna go pink on my cheeks today because I think this probably doesn't go with coral. And I got all of the new little BareMinerals lipsticks here, these really cool. I joked that they never send me new releases, and I opened the box this time. I actually got 2 boxes. One was skincare, and I was like, come on, BareMinerals. I don't know anything about your skincare. Give me the new makeup. But the other one was full of these beautiful tinted lip balms. And I do think that we are kind of entering a season of a bunch of brands putting out tinted lip balms, which I love to see. I'm a low contrast girly and I would love to test all of those on the market. I also have the ones from Ravie Beauty. Oh my God. I got sent them in PR and they're so pretty. So we will include those in a video coming up soon, but I only have 2 lips. So we're gonna do the BareMinerals ones today, and that is everything. And I will have some reviews for y'all at the end. So let's go ahead and jump in. My skin is a weird mess right now. It's a good mess. Do you see all this stuff that's kind of popping out right now? It's interesting because what I did is, I'm gonna start with putting on some sunscreen here. I have the RMS Supernatural Radiant Serum, and it's beautiful. It's great for canceling out all of this nonsense on my face. But what I did last night was I had watched Becca Sun talk about the oil massaging, and I've heard Lisa Eldridge talk about it. You know what I mean? It was just something that only so many things can fit in my short-term memory at one time. And she was like, yeah, I was just rubbing my face with the Cerat oil, and all of a sudden things just started coming out, gritty things, and it's just supposed to pull things out of your pores. Well, I learned one very valuable lesson last night, and that is that if I'm going to do that, I should do it when I'm not looking in the mirror, because if I'm doing it looking in the mirror, I'm gonna pick my face, and that's what I did. So vulnerability 101, that is exactly what I did, and I got so much crud out of my face, but it's never ending. You're not gonna solve acne by doing that. So I know that, you know that, and yet here we are. Nonetheless, that method of massaging your face with that, at least the Cerat oil, I used the Cerat oil because I had it. Oh my gosh. It was incredible. My face felt so smooth afterwards, and yes, it didn't even take a minute for just little pieces of sand, kind of like keratoses, to just start coming out of my face. It was incredible. I should put more sunscreen on than that. I love this stuff. It's kind of if you had a Becca under eye corrector for your whole face, because it's got that iridescent pink thing to it. It's so pretty. And it comes in 3 shades, which is nice. And now I'm a reflective surface, just how I like it. I was looking for all the things to use in this video, and I had to start thinking like my kid, because I do, now that I have a 3.5-year-old, I can have him sort of do his own thing for a little while. you know, in another room or whatever when I want to like sit down and do my makeup really quickly in this room on the weekends. But 3-year-olds are mischievous, and also they want to be with you. Like, that's the beauty of kids, is that they want to be with you, right? And so after a while he gets tired of like whatever he's watching and comes up here and hangs out with me, and then it's just like he just finds things and then he puts them in drawers, and I have to just think like, well, what made sense to Simon? Like, what could be imagined as a hot dog? Like, what could be, I've done it again. I've done it again. I've wet a sponge, I put makeup on the back of my hand, and I don't know where the sponge is. Ah, it's on the floor. That was all of your next guess, I'm sure. So anyway, this is Tulum. It's looking a little bit darker than my skin right now. Maybe this isn't, oh, wait, we should use my Franken foundation. No. Because it's like, I mean, I will at some point, but y'all can't buy it. There's no reason to, you know? It's like stupid for me to be like, this is the perfect foundation, when I just like mixed 2 extraordinarily expensive foundations together to make it. Like, how is that useful content? At the end of the day, like, if I have the decision to make between something being fun and being useful, I know I'm gonna build in being an idiot into the content, so it's gonna be fun to some extent. But there are so many, I feel like over the years, there are so many times as a creator where you kind of get caught up in having a good idea and then having to be humble enough to abandon the idea because you realize it's gonna be about you and not about making your content useful. And not everybody wants to make content that's useful. Sometimes it is about being a personality, and that like people show up for that. And so taking a silly idea and seeing it through to the nth degree can make really good content. I mean, think of like Jenna Marbles, for example. It was valuable in the sense that it was hilarious, but did I learn anything? Only against my will. All that to say, I think that my entire right to exist on the internet completely relies on my ability. I mean, this is my, you know, Neptune and Capricorn talking, but it relies on my ability to make valuable content. That's what I hope keeps people coming back. Although I love when people are like, came for the milk chugging, stayed for the chaos. I'm like, okay, well, we're friends for life. So there is the Ilia. Yes, you're seeing the RMS through it because it's a very sheer foundation, but it's just so beautiful and dewy and hydrating, and boy, do I need it all the time. I will say that oil massaging technique, I thought it would really hydrate my skin. It kind of doesn't. Like, you do need to compensate just as hard because I feel like it's exfoliating technically. And so it is kind of stressing your skin out. And so at least in my experience, I was like, wow, it's actually like a lot drier than I expected it to be for spending 15 minutes massaging my face with oil. I'm gonna use the Tower 28 concealer, but I might stop using the Tower 28 concealer on camera because I don't like to use things that people are not having kind of, I don't know, like a unified experience on. Like, if it's a really chaotic collective experience on a particular product, that is the thing that kind of keeps me from recommending it. It's not so much if something is good or bad for certain people, it's about when we can't decide whether it's good or bad for certain people or for whom, because everybody seems to be having like wacky different issues with it. When I kind of opened that can of worms in a conversation in a recent video, I said like, you know, my live, people were talking about they were having like the ice cream issue. It's like when the shades get to the like far end of the lightness spectrum. Is that what I meant to say? You know what I mean? The shades get light. They tend to be exaggerated in their undertones so that they don't really look like skin tones, and people are having these weird kind of issues where they can't get a shade match because something is like literally green or literally pink. And so I would far rather be able to recommend something where I can say this is who it's for and this is who it's not for kind of thing, than to say like, I have no idea if this is gonna work for you or not. That's the basis of my job. So maybe we will go back to using like the Kosas, because it does seem to have a little bit more unanimous of at least an opinion of what it does. And the shade range seems a little bit like more widely appreciated. Okay, we are going to jump right in here with the 2 shades of the RMS bronzer that I got. They reached out to me on Shop My Shelf and asked me to pick out 2 things. And one of the options was a brush. And I was like, I'm gonna pick 2 bronzers because I wanna know, especially because the shade range is 4 shades. I was like, well, at least I'll get my hands on half of the collection. Oh my God, they don't look that different in the, okay, on camera they do. On camera they definitely do, but in person it's like they don't look that different from each other, but they're so different from each other. So the first one here is called Tan Lines, and it is much more of a golden tan. It's still kind of neutral as these things go. I mean, skin tones are always going to be kind of yellow, right? And so it's not orange. I'll swatch something orange against it in a second. But this other one, good grief. This one is called Beach Walk Betty, and it is so rosy. Oh, it's so pretty. Okay, so this calls for swatching it against kind of my main three from my last video, from my top shelf. But you know what I didn't mention in that video that I meant to is Sail. From Glossier. All right, so here we have Glossier Sail. This is the Gucci bronzer in one, and this is Beach Walk Betty. So they're like the same undertone. Isn't that awesome? That's great news for people who want options, because the Gucci bronzer up until now has really stood alone, at least in my collection, as being this particular shade of rosy. It's incredible, it's beautiful, and this has got a little bit of a reflect on it. The RMS does, they all kind of have this beautiful blur. It's a luminosity for sure, but it doesn't come off like, you know, metallic on the cheeks. And then this is tan lines, which you can see against the Hermes. The Hermes still looks yellower. Like, it's still a more slightly neutral. It's not green, but it is kind of giving green against the Hermes, just because the Hermes is trying to be so orange. And then over here, the Makeup by Mario is practically invisible, but it is also a really nice neutral, like sheer bronzer. I'm going to use tan lines, and then I'm gonna use Beach Walk Betty as almost a blush, because I've done it before. This is not a first impression on these, and it works really beautifully, at least when I did it before. Hopefully it works well again. So I have here a BK102. I have not had this brush in my hands for a while because my child said it was a hot dog and he hid it in a drawer, and I just stumbled back across it. So we're gonna start with tan lines here, and we are going on top of unpowdered foundation, so I have no idea how this is gonna go, but I also feel kind of invincible now that I know the secret of using Scotch tape to unhard pan things. I'm just like, just straight in. Just straight in. I don't care about the emollients. It's not going to stop me. I'll just get out my Scotch tape and unhard pan my stuff. That's pretty. Now, I already loved their Hydra, whatever the heck it was called, Redimension Hydra blushes. So this isn't surprising to me that I like this, but that's also why we play the game, because I loved the Pat McGrath blushes. Like, I would have joined her cult about those, but not that she has one, but if she had one about those blushes, I would have joined. But when she put out bronzers, which I had no disagreement with the shades at all, I couldn't explain why I didn't like it when it got to the bronzer formula, but I didn't like it. It just didn't work for me. So there could have been any number of reasons that this didn't work, but it's so pretty. It's so pretty. Now, the one criticism that I have is, like, obviously having two of them in my hands and being able to wear two of them, and they come in 4 shades. That does mean that this is probably a pretty one-note kind of collection. They seem to be focusing on undertones instead of a range of depth and light, which leaves a lot to be desired. I would like to see it on some other skin tones to see if I am overreacting, but it does seem, at least with what I have in my hand, that they're pretty much the same tone, like, value, which is also unfortunately what we've come to expect from a lot of clean beauty companies. But I feel like RMS went for their 2.0 phase, and we saw a lot more diversity in their blush tones and things like that. I mean, sure, it could be saved with like a shade expansion, but we don't like to see deep skin tones accommodated in shade expansions. You know, it's kind of played out. So I don't know, I don't have all 4 of them, but that's my hot take. All right, so now we're going in with Beach Walk Betty. This is the rosy one, and she's just so pretty. Oh, look at that. By contrast, it really does look like a blush. Isn't that lovely? So if someone didn't have a deep skin tone, I want to say that this wouldn't be a bronzer on you, but I still think it's kind of like, and I don't want to give them too much credit here, but it kind of feels a little bit like that one shade that Chantecaille put out last year or 2 years ago in that bright green container. It was called Ray, and it was just like a cheek and eye shade, and it was like $55 or something for this little pan. But like across the board, everyone seemed to have a way of using it. It was a bronzer on some people, it was a highlighter on other people, it was a beautiful eyeshadow for everyone kind of thing. Obviously, I didn't poll the entire universe, but like, I do feel like this is kind of a formula that goes on translucent enough and it doesn't have a ton of sparkle to it that like, while maybe this isn't the most informed bronzer range, it would still do something pretty on somebody. Again, not trying to give them too much credit. I'm just kind of giving my color theory piece, I guess. And I do turn rosy. I burn to tan. Color theory things always love to call me out on that. I mean, I burn to tan, so like this is a very actual realistic color for my face to be if I were to be truly bronze. Okay, that's lovely. That's lovely. I don't even think they started to hard pan. They're just a really, really fantastic formula. I actually haven't said enough, I feel like, about these formulas because the Redimension Hydra Powder Blushes and now the bronzers, I'm not a fan of the highlighter. I like can't get it out of the pan for some reason, but these are superior to the other products in their category as far as my experience has been. So the new ones from Rare Beauty, the Bronzers, they're just not as easy to use. And these are really easy to use. They build really slowly and the iridescence in the formula, even though there's a shift on some of them, a beautiful shift on some of them, it still doesn't translate to metallic on your cheeks. They don't come off as a highlighter. So we will get to highlighter. I do have, like I said, the Natasha Denona Hygen highlighter here, and she is just really special. But I want to go in with actually, we're gonna go in with an RMS blush, and so I can demonstrate what I was just talking about. So I have here Bohemian Girl, and you can see the shift on that. She is gorgeous. And this does have, I feel like, a pretty well-informed shade range of like depths and intensities. And so that, ooh, that pink, ooh, it's so freaking pretty. And it does have a shift on it, but it's not going to, like, you see, I'm fearless, darling. I'm not trying to, you know, shy away from layering these for fear of getting a metallic thing on my cheeks. So, whoa, we're gonna be careful here because we are also going to go in with a cream blush on top. See? The pigment is there, you want to be a little bit careful, but Mai Tai, the kind of coral one that I just got, I feel like it goes on really, really easily. Like you don't have to tap your brush off at all on fair skin. So they're not all the same. And I think that that's a good thing. You can swatch these at, I'm pretty sure, like any Bluemercury, if you have a Bluemercury near you. And I have no idea as far as international, like what stores it might be. Maybe Space & K has them, I'm not sure. So there's that, absolutely gorgeous. And I'm gonna go in with the Natasha Denona highlighter before I go in with cream blush because the highlighter is a hybrid. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about her. I think this was like $50 something. I mean, I bought it. I don't remember exactly how much it was, but I did pay for it and it's really cool. Okay, I should also say I've never been a big highlighter person, but in like the beginning of my channel proper, I fell in love with her last round of highlighters. They've always been really natural looking. Look at that. Oh my God. It's just beautiful because it's really consistent. There's no glitter to it. There are no particles, you know, visible particles to it. It's just this really beautiful kind of pearlescence. The way that it feels is almost cold to the touch. It's kind of intoxicating when you touch it. You're just like, ooh. And then as it builds, look at that. You can get like a truly consistent, almost chrome sheen out of it. But when it blends out, it's super natural looking and not that wet look like a Fenty Diamond Bomb, but still convincingly wet looking, which I like. I like when something looks like my cheeks are actually a little bit dewier, not so much obviously like the old-fashioned highlighters that just look like a stripe of eyeshadow, which is coming back into style because everything comes back into style and that's fine if that's what you like. I just don't like when it looks like my blush isn't there because you can't see it through the highlighter kind of thing. I want the highlighter to be sheer enough. And so I've been using this on my eyes, I've used it on my cheeks. It's really beautiful. It's a little hard to pick up on a brush because it is so strangely kind of like gel hybrid texture, I should also say. The one weird thing, and I did check the ingredients, is that this has parfum in it. Like it literally has an added fragrance. And the fragrance is not something that I love. It's kind of just sort of like a soapy floral smell. It's not terrible and it's not super loud. It's not overwhelming, but it's there. It's for sure there. And especially if your skin is sensitive to a fragrance in your makeup, I think that it's worth noting, you know? It's not gonna bother me, but it might bother you. So I've got a Refer 18 here and I'm just going to try. Like it doesn't love to pick up. Should I be reading the instructions on this? Is there like a better way to do this? Should I be doing this with a sponge or something? That's on the brush. It just doesn't look like it's on the brush. See? Ugh. It's translucent enough that it really does give like wet, you know, very similar to like a Chanel Baume Essentiel, except that the Baume Essentiel actually is a balm, and this just kind of looks delightfully sheeny and wet on the skin. And I don't feel like I can like really go too far with it, which is lovely. Especially because it does come in shades, and so that means that like you can find a shade that disappears on you the way that this kind of disappears on me. Because a lot of times you lose the effect of a highlight, especially when you like get to your upper lip. Like you don't want to paint a dark stripe on your upper lip. You just don't. Put a little bit on my eyes to show y'all. I'm still gonna go in with that palette, but I mean, why not, right? But it's like something that's so forgiving and so pretty that you just don't mind getting carried away with it. And I would have said, if I were able to still get her old highlighter, that nothing could ever beat that one in terms of something being really subtle and beautiful and easy to wear. But actually, like, this is even better. And I really think it's a reflection of the same shades. I think that she went with very, very similar shades to last time, because I honestly recall this being really, really similar to the shade of her highlighter that I had years and years ago. If memory serves, which maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Either way, it's really lovely. I kind of want to go full Tati, where she just starts like putting it on her shoulders, you know? She does have a little bit of the painter's eye in that sense, where she's just like, oh, I'm going to catch the light. I'm going to catch the light. You know, you just kind of start like moving without thinking. You get in a flow state. Yeah, that's how I feel about this highlighter. I'm in a flow state right now. It's so pretty. My goodness. The rougher brush is like shedding on me. If you're new to my channel, I'm not really a highlighter girly. Like, you're not gonna catch me out here being like, these are my favorite 10 highlighters. It's pretty much just like a couple of things that I want to wear. It's like the Givenchy one, the Baume Essentiel, and now this. The Givenchy got discontinued, and I feel like this is a very, very good proxy for a good replacement for it in effect. It's not the same formula, obviously. It's not even the same delivery system, because that one is liquid. But yeah, I do feel like if you missed out on that, this might be a good one for you. Especially since that one came in 2 shades and this I think comes in 4. Y'all, the time has come, the walrus said, to talk of many things, of shoes and chips and sealing wax, of cabbages and kings, and why the sea is boiling hot, and whether pigs have wings. We're going to finally use this. So when I was on the New Orleans trip, which was so lovely, with creators and friends, I got the chance to get this ahead of time. So this is the Sigma Cool Neutrals palette. I don't know if this is out yet, but I do want to play in the cool neutrals of it all. And it's actually interesting. I'm probably gonna stay in the like warmer end of it. A lot of people are like, is it a cool? Like, it's not that cool. It is. It's just wearable for more people, I feel like. It's not cool in the sense that everything's gray. It's just cooler versions of colors, which I appreciate because it makes it easier for me to wear. So I'm not gonna swatch everything, but I will swatch all the shimmers for you. And I also like that even though they're really pretty finishes and really pretty colors, they aren't, and I know that this is personal, but they aren't multi-chromes, because I am not much of like a multi-chrome person, because the shifts in the color really like confuse me and I don't feel like they look that good on me. So obviously those two and that one are gonna be my favorites. This one is called Brazil. This one is called Polished, and I think that it's worth every cent of the, I think, $52 price point in this palette just to have that color because it's so pretty. And then this one right here is called School Bus. It's called Angel Wing. Angel Wing is probably the one that's kind of the hardest to pin down in terms of what the heck color it really is, because it's like a silver, you want to say it's a silver base, but it's actually a gold pink base that's like so dense of a fine glitter that it almost doesn't have a base pigment. And then there are all the mattes to kind of fill in the gaps. And I love that Simone, who, you know, designed this palette, she was like, I wanted to match the metallics with a respective matte so that it's really easy to navigate. And I was like, thank you. I have a dream, and that dream is to collaborate with Sigma. I'm just putting this out in the universe. They don't know me, but I would love to collaborate with Sigma to make a Bedroom Eyes palette. Wouldn't that be neat? And I would put all the Bedroom Eyes colors in there, and then they would all have their own kind of corresponding matte that went with them. Wouldn't that be fun? Wouldn't that be fun? Anyway, let's jump in. I'm going to grab, this is a travel one. It's got the little short stem on it, but this is the 202 from BK. And I'm gonna start with Harvest right here. And if you're new here, I pretty much do the same eyeshadow shape every time because my eyes don't change shape, but also because it helps people to kind of see how different things perform because it's one fewer moving part. It's one fewer kind of difference between each review. You're able to see demos that always kind of look comparable to one another, and it helps you isolate how you feel about the performance of the product itself. So that is why, and also because my eyes never change shape, and I think that one particular shape looks best on me, and that is to kind of exaggerate my outer corner, build some depth there, and sometimes I go dark on my lids, sometimes I go light on my lids, but it's almost always this like matte on the outer corner situation. And I like to employ the lovely realities of color theory in order to aid me in that respect, because cool tones relative to what is next to them doesn't have to be gray, it doesn't have to be blue. Cool compared to what's next to it is going to appear to recede from the eye, and so will a matte texture. It will absorb light and look more like a shadow, and so that is just what we're doing. We're kind of building an illusion here. And I'm just slamming this on because it's all gonna get covered up anyway. I just wanted to get something down, and then we'll start, you know, getting a little bit more tedious here. Like I said, I think that polished is really like one of the best shades in the whole palette, to be honest. And Angel Wing is also really incredible. Let me see if I can do those two together. It's gonna give me something very gunmetal-y. And then we have Brazil, which is like pretty gold. I feel like you'll expect me to go with Brazil, and I do want to go a little bit cooler than I typically do. Like, I just don't want to go straight to warm, straight to coral. I'd like it to look a little bit different than usual. I'm going to go with Polished here. It was the first one that I used in this palette because it's so gosh darn gorgeous. And honestly, if you look at that, you're like, Kaki, that's really not that far outside your comfort zone. You are correct. You are correct. I will grant you that. It really looks quite a bit like Smoke from Hourglass. So like Bedroom Eyes Bambi meets Bedroom Eyes Brown. It's so freaking pretty. And it doesn't look like it's gonna be that brown in the pan, but it's just so freaking good. It's like if someone took Mink from Victoria Beckham and just dialed the saturation back far enough that it made it like, you know, daytime wearable for someone with fair skin, because Mink is just so dark on me. It's really, really hard to work with because it's so high contrast against my skin. And obviously for some people, it's not high contrast against their skin, and that's great. I just wish she would make some like lighter taupes in that formula. I feel like she's been concentrating, and good for her, you know. She's been concentrating a lot on the eye cajoles and on the eye wears, but I would love to see an expansion in the Victoria Beckham lid lusters that did focus a little bit more on, like, you know, some nuanced browns. I know it's really shocking that I feel that way. It's a real hot take coming from me. Then we're gonna go in with Angel Wing, and I'm gonna go with like a little stubby brush here. This is the 207 because I think that we want precision. And if it seems weird that I'm not using Sigma eyeshadow brushes with a Sigma palette, yes, there was one brush here and I think it's still downstairs. I don't know why. I used it for something else. It's a great brush, but they didn't actually give us any Sigma eyeshadow brushes. They gave us the whole new face brush set while we were there. And so I'm very grateful for that, but I don't have any Sigma eyeshadow brushes. Like, not any that are like this shape. I have a couple of like flat ones from like years and years and years ago that they probably don't even make anymore. Look at that. We still need to really deepen the outer corner because I am who I am, but good grief. It is such a wearable cool toned palette for so many different skin tones. Okay, I'm putting a little bit more of Polished on. I'm gonna put it underneath. Oh my God, it's so pretty. Is that not just so satisfying? Now, if I want to kind of like, you know, take an aside here for color theory purposes, everything is usually so subtle in terms of the choices that I make on my makeup because I'm always trying to stay tonal. I shift between cool and neutral and warm, but I always choose one, right? And then we are manipulating light and shadow using colors that are cool or warm relative to my chosen color story of like, am I gonna go pink? Am I gonna go coral? Am I gonna go lavender? Am I gonna go orange? You know what I mean? And in that respect, you might look at this and be like, this is just so straight down the middle of what you would do anyway. But what I've done is I've actually like turned the dial over to pink and like pulled it more cool. And if I were to wear a coral cheek with this, it would look really bizarre. It would look really, really weird. It's honestly like just someone's adjusting like the tint value of like green versus pink or like, you know, blue versus red or whatever. And outside of that, yes, my makeup looks are all very similar, but that's why I'm a makeup reviewer, not a makeup artist who's making tutorials. So I'm using a little bit of Volcanic. All of these are very Brazil oriented names that she chose, and they are all kind of inspired by agate. When she started talking about how much she likes rocks, I was like, you and me, girl. I like rocks too. I think rocks rock. I just like really appreciated her. She was a delight. And I'm being really sloppy, but then I'm just gonna kind of go in and blend that because I don't know, I'm just enjoying the color placement of it all. And this formula, I feel like nobody really talks about how reliable Sigma is. I mean, maybe they do. I know Kelly does. I know people who like have been using Sigma for years do, but I feel like they are also a brand that, like, as so many other makeup brands come and go and live and die and get funding and what have you, there are other brands who just keep making reliable products and they just keep selling them at a reasonable price to people who like good makeup, and they don't end up getting a lot of attention on social media because they're not the kind of thing that's going to go viral, because that's not the intention, that's not what they set out to do, versus a lot of brands who are like putting things out that are primarily designed to go viral, even if they are like an okay or not okay product. But Sigma is just so high quality and so consistent. Sometimes that's really boring to people, but like I love boring. Y'all know I love me some boring, and like this is so in line with what you'd expect from Sigma, where they have just taken her natural inspiration from the things that she loves to do and loves to look at and the art that she likes to create, and she made something that's practical that she would want to use, and it's really practical and easy to use. Plus, oof, that's a sexy eye look, my god. Now, it doesn't have anything super duper cream colored, which is fine. You know, I have a lot of things like that. I can use my face powder. I can, you know, for a highlighter or whatever. And I can also grab that highlighter from Natasha Denona. But look how quickly that came together, and it's just this beautiful kind of sooty situation. Love, love, love. So yeah, we will go in with the Natasha Denona here. I will grab that on the 207. I'm grabbing the Natasha Denona, and not that we really need more inner corner highlight, but sounds good, more is better. And then I'm gonna put that up here. She's lovely. Oh my God. You can see it's a putty. Okay, so now we have this Weis little set that they sent me, and it's just the most beautiful. All their packaging is so beautiful. This is their eye pencil. I'm not sure if the eye pencil is new, but when they emailed me, I think that they said that this is new, the mascara. We love to see some organic options for people in makeup products because that's just not something that a lot of brands focus on, and I think organic is nice. This is a lovely little spin on their usual packaging to do this nice little lid. It is plastic, I think. Either way, it's gorgeous. Here is the color of brown that it is. I should swatch that against like tiramisu for reference. So here is tiramisu from Sephora. Whoopsies, hello, which is gonna be cooler and a little bit deeper, but honestly, maybe negligibly so. And then we have my other favorite right now, which is not gonna look anything like it, but this is Cinnamon from Victoria Beckham, and it's much lighter and warmer and also shimmery. So neither of the others is shimmery. It's just depending on whether I want something, you know, more subtle or more dramatic. It does have a little bit of a waxy tug to it, which usually translates into a good wear time. You know, if it's a little harder to get it on sometimes, although, you know, that doesn't go for the Victoria Beckham eye kajal or the Persona eyeliner. I feel like both of those are like really smooth eye pencils that then dry down, which is some kind of modern marvel of science that I can't explain. We're going to use one of Angie's brushes, not Angie Hot and Flashy, but Angelica Nyqvist. She has, you know, got Singe Beauty here. We're gonna use the E07, a beautiful, like just a great shape. There we go. I do feel like I'm just kind of throwing this face of makeup on. Like everything is so easy to use that I'm not being particularly fastidious or detail oriented. Shocking, I know. Ooh! That's pretty. pretty. What I'm gonna do actually is I'm gonna swatch that on my hand, and then I'm going to wait a few minutes and see if it dries down all the way. And if it doesn't, it's not like an emergency. It's just something to be aware of. Like, I love Lisa Eldridge's eyeshadow pencils. I'm sorry, her eyeliner pencils. I am the queen of mixing all of those words up, but I don't totally love how they stay a little bit movable. Like, when I put something down, I want it to stay. And so it is a choice. It's like a creative choice that she made, and you can set them with like an eyeshadow or whatever and they'll wear longer. But for what they are, I would rather use the Victoria Beckham ones. And I think Victoria Beckham knows that. You know, she knows that I would prefer to use them. No, she knows that people would prefer hers because she just keeps expanding that shade range in her eyeliners. And I think that they are going to put out even more over the summer. I think they're gonna do more brights, which I love. I loved the brights last summer. Oh, I also need to take upstairs. Oh my gosh, it's still downstairs. The package is all of the liquid eyeliners from Make Beauty. They came out with this whole rainbow of them, which is just lovely. But I'm also not that much of a liquid eyeliner girly, as you know, so it would have to be kind of one of those like, don't set your expectations too high kind of get ready with me's. I'm not going to pretend to be an authority on liquid eyeliner. They're just pretty. Okay, let's see. Yeah, they stay waxy and movable. That's not my favorite way for something to exist on my face. I'm gonna do a tiny bit of powder here. I'm gonna use the Laura Mercier powder because it doesn't have any color to it on me. It's so beautiful. We're gonna use the same brush that I used for my highlighter because I can't see it, so who cares? Look at that, look at the difference. Just doing that, it set it, but it didn't add coverage. It's so pretty. It's just such an interesting powder. Oh, and the Hourglass one is back in stock. I keep forgetting to buy it. I'm gonna buy it. My skin is mad at me. All right, we're going to curl my lashes, and then we have this new mascara from Weis, and then I'm gonna put on some of this Ulta blush because it's bananas. Oh my God, that's brown, friends. I did not expect that. Oh, you know what? Maybe that's what it is. I know you're all screaming at me. I hope you watched this far into the video for me to correct myself. It is a new shade in their mascara, I believe. I don't think it's a new formula, it's just a new shade. So I will put this on, and then I'm gonna swatch it against Rudy's brown mascara and the Thrive brown mascara that I wear so that we can see exactly what kind of brown it is. Okay, it's lighter than my eyelashes, which is not my favorite. Like, it's for the people who truly do not want a black brown mascara, they want a brown mascara. And I am kind of a black brown girly. I just don't want it to be like cool toned jet black because that does look a little bit severe on me, but as long as it's like honestly like a warm black, I'm okay. And I've heard good things about this formula, but again, I don't know. As the clean beauty formulas go, they do tend to be kind of disappointing for me just because they, you know, nothing's particularly long wearing in clean beauty. They're not gonna put a bunch of microplastics in there to make it like stay all day. That's just, it kind of goes against their ethos. Let's do a little brow real quick and then I'll swatch these. It looks bizarre to have my brows not have anything on them. I still don't feel like I'm wearing mascara. That's like not a look that I love. You know what I mean? I love the part of my routine where mascara enters the chat because then everything just looks so finished, and this doesn't look finished because they're so light. It's almost like a brow pomade. Like, my eyebrows are darker than my eyelashes right now. It's weird. Here we have my 3 brown mascaras. Rudy's is truly semi-sweet chocolate brown, and it is still a little bit too light and too red for my eyelashes, not as a criticism, but just as who it's for. This is what I'm talking about, that I like something that's kind of a deep, cool brown that looks like the color of my eyelashes. And then the Weis is even lighter. So, all that to say, if this is a formula that you think that you would get along with, the color I feel like is for people who are very fair. To the point that all brown mascaras seem to be too dark or too black for you, I would say that this is a really good option. Like, they've gone unabashedly like light brown on this. And I'm sure that there are other really great brown mascaras on the market. I just tend to focus so much on tubing mascaras that I don't test that many others. Also, I have the discipline of a toddler in terms of washing regular formula mascara out of my eyelashes, and last year that resulted in me having an eye infection. Not because the tube had been open for very long, but just because I am a toddler and cannot wash my eyes, apparently. Okay, so I'm like really excited to use these on camera. They're just weird. They're weird. I'm gonna swatch them. These are just really unique. And you know, Ulta, I think, kind of lives by the same things that the Sephora collection does, where it's like they can put out weird stuff because they just are working in a much lower risk environment, being business daddy. Like they don't have to impress anybody to like stay on the shelves kind of thing. So they can just get kind of experimental. And I'm here for it because these are weird. So we're just gonna go with the pink for right now because I just think that orange is gonna take us back into very familiar territory, which wouldn't look right today. I'm gonna grab this on a sponge just because it's so dewy, but I have been using the daylights out of this. I have been loving it because it really does the Patrick Ta method really easily. It like brings your skin back to looking like skin. It's great stuff. Do I recommend applying this with a brush? Not really, no. I would definitely use a sponge because you want to be able to dib dab, you don't want to disturb what's underneath it, but applying it in this manner, it makes everything look so much more full of life. And I don't understand what this formula is, it's very strange. Like it calls itself a blush beam cream blush on the package, but on the display, it called itself a highlighting blush. And I'm like, whatever. I like it, I like the color, and I'm interested. And of course, because it's the Ulta brand, it wasn't very expensive. All right, I'm gonna go with my Coolfee here, and then we will pick a BareMinerals lip. They sent me all of them, I'm so excited. Now, I'm probably going to do a full swatch video of these as a reel on Instagram. That tends to be what I do with full lip collections when they get sent to me. Whoa, look at Grateful. What a wild shade. Okay, but like, this is what I'm talking about. They're tinted lip balms. So it looks very much like the YSL one, right? Where you see it in the bullet and you're like, whoa. And then you put it on and it's just nowhere near as severe. But that is like a green brown that is not, I mean, I think I would wear it, but I don't think that it's going to go with this look. I'm going to need to choose something quite pink or quite nude. Okay, here we go, Affection. By the way, I love this bullet shape. This is one of my favorite like bullet shapes, is just a really nice round tilted oval situation. Wow, that's pretty. BareMinerals, how the turntables. Laura Mercier came out with a win and y'all came out with a win. Now, it's up to you whether you think that it's a win that there is no fragrance or flavor in these, because they do smell like what they are. They smell like the ingredients. It's not like, you know, essential oils or anything. It smells like waxes and it kind of tastes like waxes. But for a lot of people, if BareMinerals had put a whole bunch of fragrance and flavor into their lipsticks, people would probably be pretty confused. Oh my God. 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 Call me. I had to take a phone call. Where were we? Yes, let's reapply that lip. Honestly, while I like this formula, I kind of want to go grab the Ravie Beauty ones because they're so, I don't know, the colors just seem to work so much better. I'm not gonna lie, like those colors are not working for me right now. Sometimes you just gotta call an audible. So this is Allie Glines' makeup line, and she sent me the 3 lipsticks here from her collection. So this is called the Effortless Lip, and it comes in 3 shades right now: Dahlia, Lily, and Tulip. There is Dahlia. So even though they're a little more pigmented, I just feel like the shades are a lot more nuanced. Then we have Tulip. Tulip is a little bit pink for me. You know what I mean? It's kind of that candy apple pinky red that doesn't always work for me. And it looks pretty, but I think it would look better on someone else kind of thing. And then we have Lily. And Lily is just, I mean, you can look at that. It's like so skin native for me. Like that's really the one. So let's do that. I wonder if it would go well with my lip liner. This look is kind of giving lip liner. Yeah, I think that those will go together pretty well. Allie and I were like, I think it was me, Allie, and Kathleen were like the only Thrive affiliates for like years. So I know that she must have tried this at least. And then Lily. I've been keeping these in my bedroom and that's why they haven't made it onto my channel. I feel bad. These smell like vanilla. It's delicious. Is that not breathtaking? These are just absolutely dialed into perfection. That's a darn good lipstick right there. Great color, great formula, everything about it. In fact, I think that maybe my lip liner is even a little bit too orange for it, which is funny because it's not very orange at all. But this is just such a subtle shade that I think that the lip liner doesn't even belong there. And you'll never hear me say that usually. So there's that. Y'all, I'm into this makeup look. Since I did have to take a little break and get off camera for a minute, I took a phone call for probably like 30 minutes. I've gotten a chance to see what the makeup is doing as it's like sitting on my skin. And so that's going to help inform the review as well. So let's jump into final thoughts. I didn't even take like a break. Like every single step of this makeup look was on camera and talked through because everything's new. So let's see if I can remember everything that we put on my skin today. I don't really need to review this. I've done like entire videos on it. It's very, very good. I'm glad to have it back in my hands. It's very dewy. It's, you know, great SPF, whatever. It is less dewy than I remember it being, but that's probably because I don't live in Texas anymore and my skin is even drier than it used to be. It actually behaves just like a really nice skin tint now. It's not extremely dewy glycerin-y like it used to be for me. And that's also something that will enrich my future reviews because it's always nice to kind of get a new angle on an old product. So the bronzers. Y'all heard me talk about kind of the shade distribution on these. I am not really sure that that's something that I can throw myself completely behind in terms of endorsement, but I will say, if you are expecting or wondering whether these are the same formula as the blushes because you love the blushes or you hate the blushes, who knows? I can definitely tell you, not only are they very, very much like the blushes, but also they layer beautifully with the blushes without giving you anything kind of metallic. They're very pretty. I like the nuance of these shades, like the difference between them. And while, like I said, I'm not sure that this is a shade range that includes everyone, Beach Walk Betty is the first bronzer that I have seen that channels the same shade as the Gucci. And that's gonna be great news for some people because this is just such a special color of a bronzer. That rosy tone, to have options is always great. And if you're unfamiliar with this line entirely, you know, this is a replaceable pan system. So the compacts are all universal and then all of the pans are refillable and they actually sell the refills. I'm still loving the Laura Mercier powder. The Natasha Denona highlighter, I really feel like this is a very intuitive upgrade for it being years later, but also just in terms of it being a cooler, more interesting formula. It still feels very intuitive if you knew Natasha Denona's old highlighter formula. Like, it was still very good. The shades were very good. And this is very, very good in a completely new way that still feels like Natasha Denona. It just is like wet in the most sophisticated looking way because it's not giving any kind of glitter particles. And I think that it's really, really awesome. I just love it. And also, like, you can put a little bit, I mean, you can put a lot if you wanted, but like, you know, you can actually use this as like an eyeshadow and it'll give you this really gorgeous, consistent kind of sheen. It's like silk when you get it all built up. It's really, 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 really like freaky smooth. I really like that. That's kind of staying out, you know? Like, I don't consider that to be something that's like, oh, I reviewed it, now it's done. It's like, no. That's one of my new favorite highlighters, especially because the Givenchy got discontinued. The Sigma Cool Neutrals palette, I think that, like, you know, a picture is worth 1,000 words in this case. Like, believed your eyes. It was ridiculously easy to use. Sigma really impresses me in their ability to make very practical makeup that's still exciting and to do so in such a consistent way. And one of the things that I think is so interesting when I look at it on camera, these don't look luxurious on camera. They feel really luxurious in person. There's something about the foiled cardboard on the pans that makes it look kind of chintzy on camera, the way that the light reflects on it. But I swear, in person, this is a very luxurious experience holding this palette, and it is still cardboard. It still just feels legit. Like, it feels like a good, heavy, durable piece of makeup, and it feels like you're interacting with something really high quality when you're using it. I just feel like the camera does it a disservice, or the lights do it a disservice. But I love the variety of shades that they've chosen here. Just be mindful, like, you know, there's not like a super light or super incredibly deep like black shade in this. This is not meant to be, to me, like a basics palette. Like, the entire point of this is not to be a basics palette, but it does give you so many options, in the way that she has paired each shimmer with its corresponding matte makes it very, very fun and easy to navigate, and you can get a lot of looks out of it. I would say that the main thing that I noticed as I kind of sat back down to turn my camera back on was that the Ulta Beauty Blush Beam, it's done something a little bit unpleasant to my under eye, just because I did kind of layer it in that area to give a dewiness back to my skin. And there is a fine line, obviously. You can't have really high expectations of something that's this dewy to not kind of start to resolve your other products that are underneath it and make them fall into lines and stuff like that. So you do have to babysit it a little bit. But There are products out there. I feel like the Patrick Ta is actually a really good example of it because it comes with the powder and the cream and it's intended to be used that way. That doesn't really do that on me. It doesn't make everything start living in these creases, whereas this did. And it may just be that I put too much on, but this is a very, very, very emollient blush. I love the shades. I think that they're weird and wacky in a way that makes them worth trying to work with them. But at the same time, if it's like too dewy on me, as we just discussed, that this is now not very dewy on me because of the nature of my skin and where I live, then that means that this is really, really glossy. Like it's like lip gloss glossy. So bear that in mind. I honestly don't know if I necessarily recommend these, and it's a shame because the colors are so beautiful and like I have been getting use out of them, but I feel like they don't really have a lot of super great use cases. If you just want to use them on their own, that's one thing, but they don't have a ton of pigment to them. They are kind of highlighters, even though they call them blush beams. Like I don't really know whether they're a blush or a highlighter or a blush lighter or whatever, but they do disturb the makeup over time, and you can decide whether you're willing to babysit a product like that all day. And as far as the Kjaer Weis is concerned, I'll say what I always say about Kjaer Weis, and that is that if you're buying Kjaer Weis at this price point, it's because you value the same things that they value. And that is, you know, a clean formula, whatever that means to you, but a clean formula in the sense that it is less irritating to your eyes or what have you. And also organic makeup. Not everybody cares about that, but if you do, that's what makes Kjaer Weis worth it. That does mean to me though, that it's not always about performance. It's about finding something that fits your clean beauty needs first and that it performs well enough. Do things perform better than this? Yeah, yes, but this might be the best option that you have for sensitive eyes that comes in these colors. Like this does stay movable. That's not exactly my favorite thing in the world. It doesn't make me necessarily want to recommend it because like I want something that performs, but I also don't have super sensitive eyes. So it's like, I understand that I'm not going to be entirely sensitive to that. But this right here is special, the new shade, because that is the lightest brown mascara that I personally have ever used. That might make it appealing to you regardless of it being clean beauty. This is a pretty well-loved formula, but I personally haven't gotten a lot of use out of it because I just don't find the impact to be really there. So, and these BareMinerals lipsticks, I will say, I like the formula. I do. Ooh, this one's coral. Wait, that's so pretty. I was just about to say all the colors are so on the nose, I don't really find them to be particularly useful, but hope might be the exception. And I'll say this, like I said about the Kjaer Weis, this might be important to you because it doesn't have a fragrance or a flavor to it or any kind of plumping. It just is a very beautiful tinted lip balm that is truly a tinted lip balm. Like it's a good balm and the tint is very, very faint. And so it really gets the job done. It's like, I can't really complain about it other than the fact that the shades are, like I said, a little bit on the nose for me, but the formula itself is quite lovely if you do find a shade that you like. And since we got to try both, I just have nothing but really good things to say about the Ravie Beauty lipsticks. I think that as a, you know, first release from her brand, this is a very auspicious start. And I think, no, I was gonna say I thought they were replaceable. It doesn't really matter because like the entire component is the lipstick. I feel like the rest of this component, I don't want to roll it all the way up, but I feel like the rest of this component is so minimal compared to the part that actually holds the bullet of lipstick. So I think that there was just a lot of consideration put into this, especially because, you know, when creators put out brands, a lot of times it's sort of hard to make something that's entirely new without it jumping the shark. Whereas I feel like just about anybody could say like, yeah, like there's a place in my routine for a beautiful nuanced shade of a balmy lipstick. The formula is lovely. It smells like vanilla. It doesn't taste like anything and there's no plumping. It's very easy to wear, very easy to apply, and the component is gorgeous. I really don't have bad things to say about this. I love it. So those are my thoughts on all this new makeup. And if you found this valuable, please do give the video a thumbs up. You can subscribe if you want. I would like it if you did. Thank you to all my current subscribers. Y'all are the absolute best. I love you so much. And here is a video, I will put one right here, that I think you'll enjoy if you liked this one. Just keep the chaos going, keep it flowing, and I will hopefully see y'all in the next one. Bye.